Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to carve your soap. As we know, you're going to base your little carving, your little sculpture on Barbara Hepworth. So you should have done some sketches already. And what I want you to try and do is to work to one of the sketches. So you're trying to recreate one of your ideas or two of your ideas, or however how many you're going to do from your sketches. So you're not making it up as you go along. You're actually going to be you've actually drawn it out already. So you're going to need that sheet or those sheets in front of you somewhere. Okay, before we start, so there's lots of different ways you can do this, but the way I found the best is to use a potato peeler or a vegetable peeler of some sort. You might have this kind of peeler, or you might have this kind of peeler. Both are fine. I prefer using this kind. A spoon, just a little teaspoon, and then a dinner knife. Okay, it doesn't have to have a serrated edge. In fact, it's probably better if it doesn't. Probably a bit safer. And then I've got these little pair of quite sharp scissors, but a little pair of scissors of some kind. As long as it's kind of sharp, that's fine. We're just going to use that to kind of drill some holes into the soap. Please ask that you can borrow this first. Ask your parents if you're okay to borrow it, and obviously be very careful with the scissors. So you're also going to need to borrow soap. Now I've got this kind of soap, but it could be any soap. It could be any shape as well. This soap has a kind of curved kind of shape to it already, which is fine. It kind of adds to the design, but you can use any type of soap. Any flat bar of soap is completely fine. So that's all you need. You might have some other tools and bits and pieces lying around. That's okay. If you feel like you've got something else you could use, then please do. Okay, so this is what the kind of thing you're aiming for. There aren't any original there aren't any kind of original edges of the soap left. I've completely carved it all, and you can see that I've decided to put these two holes in. So your design will need to have a hole as well. You want it to look like a Barbara Hepworth type sculpture. And I've also carved into the surface of the soap as well, and I've carved into the kind of edges of the holes as well to give them some depth. I've also flattened off the bottom, but whichever way yours is going to stand up. Obviously it needs to stand, so we are going to make it one surface, one area flat, so that it stands up without falling over. Okay, so let's get on with it. So I've got my sketches in front of me, and I'm going to have a look, and I think I'm going to do maybe I think I'll quite like the look of this one, so I'm going to try and go for that one. So I'm going to have that in front of me when I'm doing that to refer to. Okay, so off we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten off the bottom of the soap, or whichever side I want to stand up. You could make it so that it stands up landscape like that. I'm going to do mine kind of, I say landscape, but if you imagine a piece of paper is like portrait or landscape, I'm going to do it vertical or horizontal. It's completely up to you. I've got some horizontal designs here as well, but I'm going to stick to a vertical design. So the first thing I'm going to do is with my peeler is I'm going to start to peel as if you were peeling a potato. So I've got my thumb out on the soap to rest it against the soap. I'm kind of making this action with my hand. So I'm going to try and get that so that it's flat. So I'm going to keep going until that's flat. And see if it stands up. Not quite, not yet. So you can see I'm just peeling or carving away. Okay, so we are carving the soap. That is the technical term. And you know, we're doing this this is an exercise in creating form. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. There we go. So that does stand up. now. I know you're seeing that from above, but it does stand up. So you can see that I've got a nice flat area here at the bottom now. Okay, well now what I'm going to do is first of all I'm going to make the holes, because if I don't make the holes first and I carve the shape, then it might be that I run out of space for the holes. So there's going to be 2 holes. So for this I'm going to use the scissors, and I'm going to put it flat on the tray. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm using a tray. It's going to get quite messy. There's going to be lots of bits of soap everywhere. So if you've got a tray or a board to do this on, it'd be much better than doing it straight on the surface of a table. Tray with sides is good, so it doesn't all go off the sides, and obviously you can empty it in the bin later. So if I look at my design, I've got a hole around about here. Now the hole, you need to be careful you don't put the hole too close to the edge, because it will break. Okay, so what you can see I'm doing, look, got the scissors, stuck them into the soap. Make sure that obviously you're basically going to drill a hole through the soap with the scissors, and make sure that the hole is going to come out in about the same place either side. So you want to make sure the scissors are there. Keep your hands away from the back of the soap, and if obviously you want to, you could just put it down on the surface there and do this. Okay, and all I'm doing is drilling a hole by turning the scissors. Okay, you can see what I'm doing. Just make sure you don't go all the way through the soap to the side, so keep your hands away from the other side. Take your time, and you can see what you get is obviously we're getting a small hole there. I want to try and get all the way through so I can see the point of the scissors. I'm coming through now, look. Now when I get through to the other side, you can see the point of the scissors just poking through. What I'm going to do, now I know where that hole is, I'm going to come through from the other side now. And the soap's quite soft, so you can push it in, it pushes through quite nicely. You can see there that I've now got a nice round hole. Now if you wanted to make, I'm just going to get that off. Just use my knife just to scrape that, there we go, off the edge of the scissors. Try and keep your fingers away from the end of the scissors, be careful, be safe. You can see that when I push the scissors, I've pushed the scissors in almost all the way to the pivot point on the scissors, but I can probably push it in a little bit more just to make that hole a little bit bigger. And then if I go in from the other side as well, there we go. Okay, so I've got a nice round hole through the soap. The other hole, the next hole is much bigger. But what I'm going to do to begin with, I'm going to start with the scissors. So the other hole, the centre of the hole is about, if I look at my design, is around about here. So I'm going to push the scissors in again. Same thing. You're kind of drilling through with the scissors. Okay. I'm turning it through, and then I'm coming out the other side. And when I'm through the other side, I'm going to go in from the other side. Look. There we go. Make that hole big as I can. And there we go. So I've got my 2 holes. Now if I look at my design, this hole here is obviously much bigger. In fact, it's not a circle, it's an oval. So I'm going to need to work on that. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my dinner knife. Okay, and obviously the blade of the dinner knife is much wider than the blade of the scissors. So I'm going to use this to make that hole bigger. So I'm going to push it in, and as I do, I'm going to turn it. I'm going to keep turning it, and again it's that kind of screw, that drilling action, drilling into the soap with the knife. Obviously if you were doing this in stone or you were doing it in marble, you would actually probably use a drill, a hand drill of some kind. And there you go. Obviously that hole is now much bigger. Okay, I'm actually going to get it so that it's pretty much the full width of the knife blade. Again, just watch your fingers the other side as you poke through. See, I'm putting my hand either side of that. Okay, I'm going to be careful. Okay, there we go. Now that needs to be an oval. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold the soap down and I'm just going to scrape out. As I scrape out, I'm only scraping one side. I'm not turning the knife all the way around. I'm only scraping this bottom, what is the bottom of the hole, or the top of the hole, just upside down. And then I'm going to turn it the other way around. And then we do the same again. So I'm scraping against the bottom. You can see the hole is widening now, and it's not a circle anymore. It's becoming an oval. You can see the soap comes off in like flakes. Okay. Now you don't have to do an oval hole. You can just do a circular hole. So you could have just stopped this process when you drill through with the knife. Okay, so that's looking more like an oval now. I'm happy with that. So I've got my two holes. So you can see on my design here, there's the two holes in pretty much the same place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve out the holes. I'm going to use, this time I'm going to use a spoon. Okay, just a little teaspoon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the spoon against, so I'm kind of gouging out the edge of the hole with the spoon. So I'm going to go all the way around to get a uniform gouge. You can see that goes in now. Okay, there you go. Alright, so I've got this kind of crater now going down into the hole, and I want to do that same the other side. So the trick is to go all the way around the hole with the edge of the spoon. Okay, and obviously the deeper the crater, the more you push on, the more you push with the spoon, the deeper you make that. So basically, look, I'm just gouging out like you would ice cream. If you got some spoon in a tub of ice cream, you're kind of scraping it out to get the kind of ball of ice cream, but you're doing that with the soap there. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to do the same with the larger hole as well. And the larger hole is a little bit trickier because it's an odd, this hole is an odd shape, but you get the idea. So I'm scraping out the sides of the hole. So I'm holding it in my hand. Look, the soap won't break, but obviously, you know, if you do squeeze it too hard with your hand, you might distort it. You might break it if you go too close to the edge. I've gone a bit close to the edge now. I've slipped there a little bit, so just got to be careful. Okay, so grip it quite tightly. Okay, that's one side, and I'm going to do the same with the other. So it's not just a hole drilled in the flat side of the soap. We're creating these kind of gouges around the edge to create this kind of create a crater. Okay, there we go. Just got a little bit there. There was a logo on the front of this soap, so I can now remove that pretty much totally. So there we go. We've got the basis of our Barbara Hepworth sculpture. Now what I'm going to do is just use my potato peeler. Now, depending on what type of peeler you've got, depending on whether you can do this or not, but I'm going to use my potato peeler just to scrape around the edges, just to smooth those off. So I'm going to go inside the hole with the peeler, like so, and there we go. I'm going to go back to the spoon again, actually, just to smooth, get that hole nice and smooth, so it is rounded, because the holes change shape a little. It's not a perfect curve. It kind of goes to a corner, so I'm just going to use the spoon just to shape that a little bit more. Where the two holes touch, I'm going to leave a kind of ridge there. I'm not going to sculpt that too much. You can see I'm getting quite close to the edge, So I've got to be careful that I don't go any closer. And you can see that I'm just using the edge of the spoon just to scrape off and carve the soap into the shape that I want it to be in. Quite happy with that side. Quite happy with that as well. Okay, so there, that's what you need to do with the holes, making the holes and then gouging them out, making that crater, making that shape. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is go back to the potato peeler, and now I need to kind of create my shape. You can see my shape here. It's got like a flat, quite flat on all sides. There's a curve here, a flat here as well, and these areas that I've shaded in are also going to be carved out as well. So again, I'm going to try and stick to that as much as I can. So I'm going to need to shape this so it's flat, this edge here. So you can see that already becoming flattened. It might not be exactly the same as my design, but that doesn't matter. But I'm going to try and get as close as I can. The top is flat. Just be careful where you're putting your fingers and how much pressure you're putting on, because if you hold that piece there and you squeeze too hard, it might break. So you can see it's getting messy as more and more soap comes off. I've got that flat top bit there as well now, and then this bit is also flat. So after when you finish doing this, you'll be an expert peeler, so you'll be able to help out with peeling the veg for tea. There we go. So I've got that's flat, and that's flat. And I can look at that. That curve is actually where it should be, so I'm going to leave that alone. And then this area here is flat as well. Quite a long flat area, so quite a lot to peel off there. To carve, I should say. I'm not peeling, carving. So I'm going to keep going until that's nice and flat. There we go. Okay, you can use different style peeler. If you've got one like this, it might actually be a bit easier. Okay, so you just keep running the peeler down there until you get the shape that you want. Okay, that's looking pretty good. It's pretty close to my model. The only bits I'm going to do is these shaded bits. The shaded bits on my design are the bits that are carved out of the kind of the front surface. So you can see that I'm going to take that edge off here. In the right light, in that light there, look, you can see that that area is flat now. So I've taken that corner off, and that kind of matches my drawing. So you can see that this area here that I've shaded in, that I'm trying to create, so it's not flat. And then there's this area here as well, the top, because this is remember, this is a 3D form. It's not two-dimensional. It's obviously two-dimensional on your page or paper, but we're trying to make it more three-dimensional. So if we don't touch the surface, if we leave those as they are, they're just the shape of the soap as it started out. So we want to shape that as well. I'm also going to do the same with the back. So I'm going to make the back the same as my front. So I'm going to carve off that corner there. That leaves me with this kind of nice ridge. You can see as I turn it in the light, these different surfaces that appear. That's what you want. You want nice, lots of nice carving, lots of nice carved surfaces, lots of shape and form in your sculpture, in your soap carving. So the last one is this surface here. See that I've taken off that surface there, and now it's just refining it. So have a good look at it, kind of decide if you want to round off and carve out those circles or those holes anymore. have a look at each side, make sure you're happy with it. Okay, if you want to make obviously inside so you can get in there with the peeler, that's great. If you can't, then use your spoon again. You can see here there's a bit of a lump of soap in there, so I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm going to carve out the inside of the hole a little bit more. There we go. Okay. I wouldn't advise getting it wet. You can, if you want to, maybe on your finger, a little bit of water, dip your finger in, and you can use that to smooth it off. I haven't on my models. I quite like them having all the ridges and the fact that you can see where you've carved it. I think that's quite nice. You can see the actual marks that the tools have made, so we know that it's been hand carved. And there you go. So that's my kind of second. You can see there's my first one, second. They are different, and you can definitely see they're very much like a Barbara Hepworth sculpture. So there you have it. So make sure you've got a tray, make sure you've got the tools that you need. Obviously stay safe, particularly with the scissors. And obviously clear up any mess that you've got afterwards. Just put that straight in the bin. Okay, there you go. Have a go yourselves. Good luck.